Okay. What more can my people do? Tell the F-15s to fire at the plane?
Harrison Ford is the president of the United States whose plane is hijacked by terrorists in Air Force One. One of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. One of the busiest characters in action movies these days is the President of the United States, who in Independence Day battled with aliens, in Absolute Power was a killer, in Murder at 1600 survived a violent coup, and in Contact dealt with messages from outer space. Now in Air Force One, he's aboard the safest airplane in the world when it's taken over by armed terrorists. The hijacker seized control of the plane on its way home from Moscow, and in this scene, the First Lady, played by Wendy Crewson, confronts the leader of the terrorists, played by Gary Oldman, who believes the president escaped the airplane in a secret emergency pod.
He will not negotiate.
Really? His wife? His daughter?
But the president, played by Harrison Ford, has fooled them and is still on board. He hides in the bowels of the ship, desperately trying to contact the White House and running into an operator who can't believe he's really the president.
Who did you say is calling?
This is the president.
Yeah, right, and I'm the First Lady.
The terrorists in this movie make the same old mistake, dividing up so their enemy can pick them off one at a time. Meanwhile, in Washington, the vice president, played by Glenn Close, deals with the terrorist demands.
Any educated guesses as to where they might be going?
Iraq, Libya, Algeria.
Those are guesses. I don't know if they're educated.
So we better notify our allies. We'll need secure airspace. Can we keep that under wraps?
The movie assembles a lot of durable old action cliches, of which the oldest is this variation on your basic dilemma where the hero has to decide which wires to cross.
First, cut the green wire.
Okay, green. Cut.
And then cross that
With the what? Hello? Cross it with the what? Say again? Cross the green wire with the...
You're not going to see much in Air Force One that you haven't seen before in a lot of other movies, including Passenger 57 and Turbulence. And the basic situation, one heroic guy against a gang of terrorists, is recycled directly from Die Hard and many, many other stories. There's some debate about who should be in charge of responding to the hostage crisis in the movie, but the film's only interest in that is to provide some dramatic, solemn talk in between action sequences. The cast is a good one, and Harrison Ford generates sympathy just with his very presence, but this is not a very fresh or a very original action picture.
I enjoyed it a little more than you, Roger,
Yeah?
in this way. I like the setup of the picture. I like being taken into literally the corridors of power inside this plane. I think we're all interested in that. If there was a book of photos of it, a tour of it on TV, everyone would watch it. And the other part that you did say you liked, or at least a little bit, was back in Washington, the debate between the Secretary of Defense.
Like that.
Well, I kind of enjoyed that stuff. The problem I had is, why, with Harrison Ford, who is such a smart actor, we'd rather watch him in a battle of wits against terrorists than in the physical battle. And that's the part of the picture.
That's a good point.
That's the part of the picture that bothered me. In other words, is this where they had to end up? When he's dangling out there in space, I'm not with this film at all, and I feel disappointed.
You really have to ask yourself if the president would be more physically able to take on the terrorists than his Secret Service guards. That would be a good question.
Well, I suppose they deal with that in the way the story goes.
Yeah, in a way they try to.
I'm just saying
but another thing, you're talking about the inside details of Air Force One.
Yes.
Much better done in the Line of Fire, directed by the same man.
I know. I thought this was better in terms of the actual plane itself.
Yeah, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a marginal recommendation for me with the big qualifier that the third act doesn't work. Okay, next movie.